Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss Book 2 in Gordon Corman's original historical fiction series, Titanic. Book 2 is called Collision Course. So this is 166 pages, came out in 2011. This is the sequel to the first book. Then there's the third book. So this is... And again, I love this series because it's all timestamped to the mark. So chapter 1 starts Friday, April 12th, 1912, 4:50 p.m. And then the epilogue leaves off Monday, April 15th, 1912, 12:09 a.m. aboard the Titanic. So this full book is on the Titanic. The first book we were in Belfast, we were in Southampton, a bunch of different places before we actually were on the Titanic. So from, what did I just say? April 12th. So this is 2 days worth of stuff. What happens 2 days worth of stuff? So Patty is still on the loose. Patty Burns, if you will, is still on the loose, on the run, being the stowaway on the Titanic. How does he keep impersonating stewards? How does he keep impersonating Alfie Huggins? You have Juliana, who is becoming closer friends with Sophia. Sophia's mom is you know, still preaching about equality for women's rights and stuff of that nature. The kids are now trying to find, they're 14 and 15, so kids. The teens, they're trying to find out who the serial killer Jack the Ripper is. You know, it's revealed that the scrapbook that they found in the cargo hold, all the mementos of the Whitechapel killings back in 80 something. 24 years later, we're in 1912. And so Jack the Ripper obviously is aboard the Titanic. So it's a matter of finding out who that killer is. He is then revealed to be Mr. Masterson, who is residing in Suite A17 in first class. And he has, you know, gamey legs and very strong upper body. And obviously the killing stopped because he was in an accident and he lost control of his legs. And, you know, he's now trying to go to New York to see a doctor to rehabilitate himself, to kill again, all those things, right? Very interesting, having that subplot within the historical fiction aspect. But then you have actual real-life people being these historical characters, the people in the mailroom, the people, you know, the different officers, first officer, second officer, third officer, all these different individuals who were actually a part. And it's a matter of what happened. If the ship kept going at full speed and hit the iceberg at full collision course, the first like 4 bunks would have been, you know, smushed, but it would still survive. But because the officer at charge, what was it, the second officer, the third officer, something like that, said to reverse the engines to make the turn, that's when the iceberg underneath did that and knocked out a whole bunch of the bulkheads. And then that's why the Titanic sank. So it was designed to hold, could still float with 5 bulkheads underwater, but once we hit that 5th, 6th, 7th, then that's it. All hell breaks loose. So it's now a matter of trying to get Patty out of prison because he's finally been caught, out of the jail, you know, that he's been a part of, freeing the killers, the Gohuli brother and his miscreant servant, if you will, Seamus. Patty has a heart because they're humans, but because he's been on the run for so long, he's still questioning the humanity of people, you know, treating steerage as third class and second class versus first class things, right? You have the 4 of them at the giant steerage third class party, which was just so epic. And we see a lot of that. We see a lot of these like moments in Titanic, James Cameron's Titanic, which is one of the most famous films of all time. So it's neat seeing these different versions of these historical parts, which the movie was based on. So it brings a lot of questions in regards to what happens next, you know, that the ship is finally sinking. Not that it's finally sinking, it's starting to sink, and Sophia and Juliana are noticing that the stairs are a little off. What happens next? We get the true reveal of why Juliana is going to New York. It's because her father is bartering her to be the bride of some Texas oil baron. It's just wild, having all these side stories corresponding to the ship sinking. What happens when the ship sinks? And while I'm reading this, I'm just obsessed with how the writer, like, describes things, the sights, the sounds, the smells, and you feel like you're there. And it's very rare that a writer can do that, and it's very cool hearing that. He uses cacophony a lot, the cacophony of the sound, stuff like that. So it's like an uproar, you know, the cacophony, the complete uproar of the of the sounds. What's going on? You know, the engine's cacophony, the dining hall's cacophony, stuff like that. And it's just a very poetic way of saying noise, but in a sleeker way, if you will. While being enamored with this, I studied Titanic stuff for many years, right? Always was obsessed since I was a kid. Go figure. And so thinking because of this, I started to think of catalyst moments, right? What is a catalyst moment? And we learned about variants and catalyst moments and stuff within the Loki franchise, TV series as well, which is pretty cool. So like, if you are presented with an apple and an orange, and you take an apple, then the timeline is going to go this way. But if you take the orange, the timeline is going to go that way. There's a branch. What's the catalyst moment that causes the branch, right? What happens if the Titanic just went forward, full steam ahead, and just smashed the iceberg and still was able to, you know, limp to New York? What happens when all those people were still alive? All the leaders of society, if they were still alive, what would the world look like now if the Titanic never sank? If there was no ice at all and it was just a pure, smooth sailing, what if the Titanic sailed in July where there is no ice versus when they sailed in April when there is ice? So many what-if moments. And it's interesting because I'm thinking of other catalyst moments within societal aspect, within different American history, United States American history. So it's interesting. It's interesting that a book that you're so enamored with can make you think about other stuff. And it's cool. It's cool when you get to exercise your mind that way, because you opened your mind to possibilities. What if? What happens next? What can happen next? The past got us the present. What happens in the present brings us to a future. And what version of the future we might be getting to depends on what happens in this very moment right now. Interesting. Very interesting. These catalyst moments, bro. So, Gordon Corman's Titanic Book 2 Collision Course. Love this trilogy. I cannot stress how amazing this trilogy is. It's so enamoring to be. It's just so immersive. I smell the ocean as the sea is rising through the grates of the floor. It's just wild how he can make this vividly target other senses aside from just seeing the pictures in the brain. That's what reading does. Amazing. Amazing. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.